Councillors, just before we start formally, to advise Councillor Donnelly is an apology for this evening, so we will be seeking a pro tem chair from among the members in attendance. Okay, so that'll be our first item of consideration in a moment or two. And again, just before we start formally, for those joining us in the public gallery, if I could just ask that all mobile phones are turned to silence. There's no recording allowed in the council chamber, so phones should also be put away if possible. And the meeting is streamed live on YouTube. Okay, and we'll be ready to start in a moment, Adam, okay? Can I just make sure, sir, you're not recording or photographing? Yep. So could you put the phone down, please? No, if you just put the phone down, please. Thank you. No. Put your phone away. That's contrary to the rules of the meeting. Thank you. All phones away. It is live on YouTube if anyone wishes to stream that way. Okay. So we'll make a start then, Adam, if you're good to go. Okay, good evening, members. Welcome to the October meeting of our Regeneration and Community Committee from the Grange in Omagh. The committee chair, Councillor Donnelly, unfortunately is unable to join us this evening. So in accordance with standing orders, we'll seek a nomination for a pro tem chair from the members in attendance. So if I could just invite a nomination, please. Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, thank you, Chief Executive. In the absence of the chair, I'll propose Councillor Adam Gannon, chair of this meeting pro tem.
Okay, Councillor Gannon proposed by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Rainey. May I check if there are any other nominations? No. All content? Councillor Gannon, you please take the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors, for the nomination to chair the meeting. First item on the agenda is apologies. Apologies, apart from Councillor Donnelly. Councillor Rainey.
Councillor Warrington.
He's online.
I'm online.
Oh, good man.
No apologies, and now we go to the minutes of the previous meeting. Sorry. Councillor Green.
Thank you, Chair. Just on the agenda, I'm wondering, would it be possible to move item 4.3 up to either 2 or 3 on the agenda, just so that we could deal with it at the beginning? I know there's people very interested in it, and if we moved it up, would it, due to the public concern?
Thank you, Councillor Green. Councillor Thompson?
Yeah, if Councillor Green's proposing that's moved up, you're happy enough with that, Chair, happy to second it.
That's 100%. Yeah, we'll move that up. We'll move that up ahead of 4.1. So it's the first item in 4, just to allow us to get declarations of interest done first. Is that okay, folks? Thank you. So any declarations of interest? Councillor Thompson?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Item 4.1 is the Event Strategy Working Group, and item 5.1, Grant Aid Panel member. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. And I see no other indications. Oh, sorry, I do online. Councillor Crawford?
Thank you, Chair. 4.1, the Events Strategy Group, and 6.1 as I'm Chair of PCSP.
Thanks, Councillor Crawford. Councillor Rainey, you've indicated?
4.1, Chair.
Thank you. And Councillor Crawford, when you get a chance, if you can put your hand down on WebEx, that would be most useful. Thank you. So there's no further declarations. So we are now moving to item 4.3 to consider a report on Department of Health consultation on policy underpinning the Public Health Bill. Who is dealing with that? John, please.
Thank you, Chair. And Chair, just to note that council powers have been provided to the committee following the council meeting. Chair, this report, similar report, was presented at last month's RNC on the response to the consultation of the Department of Health on the policy underpinning the Public Health Bill. At the council meeting, last council meeting, there was a request that it be given further consideration in light of some of the issues that were raised, and because the consultation period had been extended to the 14th of October. A consultation prior to the council meeting had been submitted to the department, so it was agreed that a letter would be brought before this committee for submission to the department to take account of members' concerns. The draft bill, which is out for consultation, will include an extended scope to address any infection or contamination that poses a significant risk to human health. It provides for mandatory notifications in that it introduces a requirement for registered medical professionals to notify the Public Health Agency of instances that may pose risk to public health or public health risk. It provides for investigative powers that the Public Health Agency will gain powers to assess and mitigate threats, including the ability to investigate risks to public health. It provides for updated authority powers, powers of quarantine, isolation, medical examinations and employment restrictions. But it does mention about ensuring that all responses are proportionate to the risks. And it does talk about human rights considerations in that the measures must remain compatible with the Human Rights Act of 1998, ensuring that the state's public health duties do not disproportionately infringe on an individual rights. So there is that acknowledgement within the consultation on the draft bill that there must be a balance which reflects the inevitable restraint on rights which flow from the legislation, and that this must be proportionate. The updated powers, though, are very wide-ranging and extensive, not necessarily in terms of what is stated in the draft bill itself, but what may be authorised in subordinate legislation that could be made under the bill itself. The regulations that in relation to a person on that element of special restriction or requirement, it allows for the requiring a person to submit a medical examination to be removed to a hospital or other suitable establishment, to be detained in a hospital or other suitable establishment, to keep a person in isolation or quarantine, to require a person to be vaccinated or to receive other treatment, for a person to be disinfected or decontaminated, that the person provides information or answers questions about the person's health or other circumstances, that the person's health be monitored and the results reported, and that the person attend training or advice sessions on how to reduce the risk of infecting or contaminating others, and that the person be subject to restrictions as and when the person may go or with whom the person may come into contact with. There's no doubt that all of these matters impinge on rights. And I suppose there is a balance there, and it is acknowledged within the consultation that rights are not absolute. It's imperative, therefore, that when we talk about that proportionate effect, that there is a balance between the rights and proportionality of the situation. The consultation document states that a draft human rights impact assessment has been developed for the proposals. But, and it is something that has been noted previously in the previous response, is that draft human rights impact assessment was not provided with the consultation itself, and the department are holding off on that until the following the consultation to submit the human rights impact assessment. Chair, there is a letter has been drafted for consideration by members for the department following the council meeting, as was requested by members, and it does highlight all of the issues which I have spoke about in terms of proportionality and the concerns that members have in relation to the consultation. And the letter urges the Minister to very carefully consider the proposals to impose special restrictions, those that I've just mentioned, and requirements, and that the resulting implications on the human rights legislation be very much considered when introducing the bill. And also acknowledging that members acknowledge that the rights are not absolute. And it's imperative that there is a balance between those rights and proportionality in relation to public health. So therefore, Chair, it's recommended that the Council approves the draft letter to the Department of Health to be submitted before the consultation deadline of the 14th of October. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Director. I'm going to go to Councillor McElduff first.
Thank you, Chair. Mine's a procedural point. I understand, I'm aware, I know that concerned individuals requested, possibly in a group format or an individual format, they made an application for speaking rights in the context of this evening's RNC meeting. And I know also that the Chief Executive did correspond variously with those who made those requests. But for the purpose of this meeting, could it be explained, what the regulations and procedures are in standing orders to allow for people to address a council meeting, the full council or a committee meeting? What are the circumstances in which they could? And the reason I say that is that it's just to stand up for participatory democracy. There's a protest gathering here this evening, and I think that's inherently a good thing, that people have a say in decision making. But just for the purpose of this meeting, what are the rules and regulations and protocols regarding seeking speaking rights to address the council? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor McElduff, and totally support the participatory democracy myself. I've stood outside this hall or this building protesting before. Deputation needs to be done within 5 working days. And I noted the emails. I think we were all seeing the emails for deputation. It was 5 days rather than 5 working days. Circumstances, I'm sure the Chief Executive could outline further. Thank you.
Chair, thank you. So I suppose just for completeness, Chair, and in response to the question, the provisions for receiving deputations are detailed fully in Section 11 of Standing Orders. So it sets out the arrangements, which, as you've noted, Chair, relate to 5 working days notice. The purpose, the cause, and reference is also made to an emergency. The definition of an emergency would certainly, and I do appreciate the strength of feeling on this matter, but it wouldn't meet the test either legally or a matter for the council to be considered an emergency. So it is quite simply the request for deputation did not meet the requirements of standing orders, and they are what govern the administration of any of the meetings. I suppose there was a supplementary query, Chair, just in relation to and I'm sure Councillor McElduff appreciates the point around the participatory democracy. So this is actually a consultation by the Department of Health, as opposed to Fermanagh and Omagh District Council. We're obviously making a response. The core decision maker in this matter is the department, the minister specifically, and the Northern Ireland Executive.
Thank you, Chief Executive. And Councillor McElduff is content as it stands. Councillor Green.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks, John, for that in relation to the letter. I suppose my take on it is that we sent in, to say the least, a very imperfect consultation document. We no longer want to be associated with it. So I have a rescinding motion here tonight signed by a number of councillors, and I would leave it open for any of the other councillors to also sign it tonight, if they so wish, from any party. And I am requesting that it is accepted as a rescinding motion on this, so that this document that we sent to the department can be withdrawn and no longer represent the council's views. So I suppose my question is, in light of that, does this letter actually still have any legs, as it's an addendum to the consultation document? So would there be any point in sending it in the first place?
Thank you, Councillor Green. I'll bring the Chief Executive in to go over the standing order for the rescinded motion.
Okay, so Chair, rescinding motion can only be considered at a meeting of the council. The next meeting of the council is obviously the November meeting. I'm assuming from what Councillor Green has said, obviously, if that's left, it will be in a timely manner for it to be considered and included on the agenda. In terms of, and therefore the council will consider at the November meeting if it wishes to rescind the submission that has already gone into the department. That would then be just quite simply withdrawn by the council. In terms of this evening's consideration, it's entirely a matter for members if you choose to submit any supplementary correspondence. I appreciate within the letter that's been submitted, reference is made to it being read as an addendum essentially to the previous consultation response. That could of course be reworded if members wish to reflect different views than those already articulated. So I suppose in summary, I know Councillor Green will obviously have submitted rescinding motions previously. If it's a valid motion, it'll be included on the agenda. The council will decide it in November. It will therefore be November before the matter can be reconsidered. In terms of tonight's decision, if members choose not to proceed with any further course of action until the rescinding motion, that's perfectly in order as well.
I'll go back to Councillor Green there.
Thanks, Chair. So I think in light of that, to be a dissent in as an addendum, I think it's probably pointless. I think it will be rescinded in November. So I'd be happy enough that the letter is also withdrawn, and I would suggest that all parties and individuals, individual councillors and individual citizens do put in their concerns to the consultation before it ends. I think it's the 14th of October, if I'm right. So,
thank you, Councillor Green. Councillor Campbell.
Caherly, Councillor Green has outlined the reasons for the rescinding motion to withdraw our submission. I support that course of action, Chairman, and I want to second his proposal. It's my considered opinion that our response to the consultation is flawed. It's not fit for purpose and should be withdrawn. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't think Councillor Green quite articulated the proposal, unless I'm making an assumption here that it was to not, he's proposing to not send the further letter. Would that be correct, Councillor? Okay. Yep. So that's proposed by Councillor Green, second by Councillor Campbell. And Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, thanks very much, Chair. Interesting proposal from Councillor Green there. I wasn't asked to sign your document.
no.
However, I will say that, as my colleague will, on behalf of the Democratic Unionist Party. However, Chair, I do want to make a few points while I'm here. And as all of us, I've been lobbied by the people behind, and many more for by. It's no secret what our party position is, and I want to outline it just for the benefit of all here. It's primary responsibility of government to protect the public. COVID pandemic highlighted the importance of ensuring our health protection law and practice is up to date and effective, but we are currently reliant on legislation from the 1960s. The Democratic Unionist Party takes any proposed legislation that could impact on personal freedoms extremely seriously, and Diane Dawes, as our health spokesperson, has publicly expressed her concerns around the bill. There has been some misunderstanding over the planned bill. However, this has undoubtedly been accentuated by the vagueness and imprecision in some of the language and measures contained in the consultation paper. Lack of clarity in the proposals has resulted in levels of criticism and confusion that may have rendered the consultation exercise irreparably damaged. In announcing the extension of the public consultation until the 14th of October 2024, the Minister said the following, and I quote him: "I am not in favour of mandatory vaccination, even in limited and tightly prescribed circumstances," unquote. In stating this, the Minister has rendered a significant element of the consultation redundant, and the process is now undermined in the public eye. Therefore, we believe that the consultation should be withdrawn and the Department revisit the proposals put forward, given the Minister's view, but also in response to the wider public concerns expressed around individual liberty. And we are a party that believe in civil and religious liberty and human rights for all. It would be in the interests of all involved to withdraw the consultation paper, take a short period to reflect and rework, and subsequently come back with a new document. A new document would benefit from being more precise, with greater detail on suggested interventions and the specific circumstances in which they may be deployed. There is little positive to be gained from consulting in areas which have no prospect of securing executive or assembly approval. In shaping a new consultation, the Department should be mindful of the concerns that have been expressed around individual liberty and the checks and balances between the power of government and personal freedom of choice. So thank you, Chair, for allowing me to make the points on behalf of the Democratic Unionist Party, and we will support Councillor Green's proposal. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Devine Gallagher.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, I'll not take long here and tell you what, from my point of view. I've come here of my own free will and to speak my truth. It is my human rights. It's my human right of thought, of expression, to express my beliefs. And today I'm going to express that right. I will only speak for myself and for myself alone. This health bill, in my own opinion, should never have been wrote. I cannot turn back time, and I will not blame others. Whoever wrote this bill does not live on the island of Ireland. So whoever you are, I want to send you a very clear message from myself. My body, my choice. I do not consent. I have spoken my truth here today, and I only can ask you all to speak your truth. Thank you.
Councillor Warrington, please, and thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Well, as has been previously said, obviously, as councillors, we have been contacted quite a bit recently, both by email and by phone call, and certainly, you know, as a party, we've been taking that on board. It's already been pointed out that the current bill is 55 years there, and it is no doubt that that it needs updating and changed. I suppose COVID, when it hit us in 2020, and we don't really need to be reminded, we were dealing with something that we didn't really know what it was, and you know, we needed to have something in place if something like that happens again. There's no point in getting into political point scoring on it, which some individuals would like to do, but there is, like Minister Nesbitt has already said that he won't enforce mandatory vaccinations on anybody. There is no doubt that the bill needs to be written. And can I ask the Chief Executive a question, please? If we withdraw both our amendment and the current consultation which we have prepared, what does that leave us as a council, that we won't be submitting anything?
Chief Executive. Thanks, Councillor Workin.
Yeah, Chair, thank you. Well, if it's my understanding of the position at the moment, Chair, we expect to receive a rescinding motion that is likely to receive support, which would withdraw the submission that we have already made. And the current proposal on the table is that we do not issue a letter of any further engagement. So therefore, there wouldn't be anything in the system from Fermanagh and Omagh District Council in relation to the matter.
That's okay. Thank you for that clarification. So basically, what we're saying, anybody who wants to voice their suggestions or whatever, or amendments to the consultation, needs to do that personally before the 14th of October. Thank you.
And Councillor Buchanan, please.
Chair, thank you. Our party does take any proposed legislation that could impact personal freedoms extremely serious, and today our party has launched the formal response to the consultation by the Department of Health, and that's been submitted today. And we're acutely aware of the public interest and the level of concern that these proposals have generated right across our community, and we want to continue to advocate for an outcome that safeguards our fundamental freedoms. And we have called for the Minister to withdraw the consultation as it is severely damaged. And on reflection on this consultation in more detail and our response to such, I have found that there are some alarming things that myself and others in our community find unacceptable. Many points that I am not comfortable with. And I know our Chief Executive has explained the situation tonight, and I would fully support our response being withdrawn, and that each individual and party groupings make their own responses to the consultation before the 14th of October. And the rescinding motion will follow. But I'm not sure if the Chief Executive can guide, but would there be merit in the Council forwarding a letter now to the Department before the closing date to state the Council's position that we will be looking to withdraw this following our rescinding motion once the procedure is followed, just to make them aware in case, I'm not saying, but there's a few weeks of a gap between us being able to get this motion rescinded. Maybe it would do no harm in email in the morning or whatever way of correspondence we have with them to state the Council's position, because there's Council powers at this tonight. So that'll be my proposal. Thank you.
Chief Executive.
Chair, certainly in relation to Councillor Buchanan's query, as he has rightly noted, Council powers have been devolved to the committee. So the committee, or for this item, can take any course of action bar rescinding the previous which we've dealt with. So certainly if it is the view of the Council that we write, or the committee that we write tomorrow advising of the intent to withdraw subject to the normal consideration of a rescinding motion, we can do so. Similarly, and I know a number of members have already spoken in their contributions about the potential for the Minister to intervene directly and pause the process immediately. That is also something that the Council could formally request this evening should they wish to do so. So the short answer is yes, we can do that and advise, I suppose, of the timeline associated with the rescinding of our processes.
Okay, so we have that proposal. I do want to go to Councillor Deehan, who is speaking rights in this, just before I go back to other speakers who've been in. Councillor Deehan.
Thank you, Chair. And I want to thank the committee for permitting me to have speaking rights. And I want to thank John Boyle and members of his team for preparing the addendum to our consultation response. Up until the meeting started, I was unaware of Councillor Green's proposal, seconded by Councillor Campbell, that I had come prepared to speak on the letter. I want to say that in supporting the proposal to rescind the council's consultation response on the policy underpinning the public health bill, I want to show no disrespect to the council staff who have prepared both the initial consultation response and the addendum. I believe that the initial consultation response was very good in protecting this council going forward, but I think the glaring admission was the decision to exclude any health-related issues and determining that these were a matter for health professionals alone. Chair, I speak as a health professional. I'm aware of the widespread public concern regarding infringement of human rights and civil liberties, and that is something that I take extremely seriously. And hence that was the reason I proposed that this matter should come back to committee. Thinking of myself as a registered medical practitioner, I believe that the proposals in this consultation document would seriously damage the doctor-patient relationship, which is based on trust. And I also know that there is no medical body that I know of that would support forced vaccinations, forced treatments. Medical treatments are always with the consent of the patient. And any proposal to designate vaccinations and other antibiotics, etc., as non-medical treatments is quite simply farcical. Chair, in the interest of time, I will leave it at that. I am willing to support the rescinding motion when it comes forward to council. My only concern would be, I hope that the minister will withdraw this flawed consultation document, but I would have concerns about the voice of this council not being heard ultimately. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Deehan and Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much again, Chair. I just want to second Councillor Buchanan's proposal that an initial email or letter be sent tomorrow morning to the department with regard to our decision.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. So that leaves us with two proposals. First is proposed by Councillor Green, seconded by Councillor Campbell, that we do not send a letter or we do not send the attached letter in the appendix. Are we all in agreement? Okay, that passes. And the second proposal from Councillor Buchanan, seconded by Councillor Thompson, that we write in the morning or as soon as possible tomorrow to the department to state the position that's been stated here tonight, that we'll be looking to rescind our response at this stage. I think I've correctly got that, Councillor. Thank you. All agreed? Okay, that passes also. So that's us finished on that item. So we're going back to 4.1 to consider a report on events and festivals, and I go to Director Boyle.
Thank you, Chair. The report is to provide members with an update following the event strategy working group and to seek approval to write to the Minister of Agriculture and the Economy Minister regarding the Fermanagh Classic Fishing Competition, and also to note the update on the promotion of events at Gorton Forest Park. The report highlights a number of events which took place during the summer. Hats off to Fort Hill, Teddy Bear's Picnic, seasonal outdoor music programme. And I have to say all of those events were a huge success, some of them despite the weather which took place during the summer months. It also highlights the sponsored events which we sponsored as a council, which attracted over 46,000 spectators and 12,500 participants. The report highlights the training programme which the events team is currently developing in order to build capacity among groups to support organisers in holding of events, and highlights the events calendar, which is part of an improvement in letting people know what events are on, when they're on, and what they're about. And it is a website which acts as a resource hub and provides access to templates and sponsorship information and key information on event safety. The second element of the report is a little worrying in relation to the DAERA's support for a number of fishing events here on Lough Erne, the classic fishing competition and the Erne pike fishing competition. Members will be aware that the classic is delivered directly by Fermanagh District Council, and the Erne pike fishing competition is sponsored by the council. We have received correspondence from the Permanent Secretary of the Department of Agriculture and Environment and Rural Affairs, which states that due to budget constraints, that DAERA will no longer provide inland fisheries support to assist in the delivery of these events. That support is actually critical for the running of the events. Their staff and the resources and the knowledge that DAERA staff have in relation to angling on the Erne. And there is certainly a risk that without that support, that those two events could not take place. And it isn't something that as a council, and I know there were mutants, that the council should provide the financial contributions in order to allow DAERA staff to undertake those duties, but that would not be financially viable for ourselves, or indeed wouldn't be the council's remit. It is a responsibility of DAERA in order to undertake those duties. And it is stated actually in the Lough Erne Fishery Management Plan, which emphasises the department's role, and this is a document from DAERA itself, the department's role in promoting recreational angling and the associated economic benefits which accrue to the local area from it. If those events weren't to take place, and you see there at 2.4.4 of the report, that the classic has generated somewhere in the region of £320,000 for the local economy on an annual basis. So it is quite substantial. And it is from the Event Strategy Working Group recommended that the Council writes to the DAERA Minister and the Minister for the Economy, expressing the disappointment and the concerns about the decision and highlighting the potential detrimental effects on local tourism and the associated economic impacts. The third element of the report, members, is in relation to the promotion of events at Gotchin Forest Park. And this is following on from a request at the council meeting in July. There is significant promotion of the events at present. I suppose when you see the number of people who visit the park each year, 238,000 in the last year, visitors to Gotchin Glen Forest Park. It is testament to the amount of promotion that is taking place and attracting people to there. And that is done through the web page, through all social media posts, Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn. All of those social media areas are used in order to promote events at the park. To further enhance the visibility of events and improve the user experience, a direct link from the Gotchin Forest Park webpage to the council's website to the events and festivals page is being implemented at the moment, so that there is clear visibility of all of the events that are taking place. Chair, there's also at the Event Strategy Working Group, there was a discussion regarding the Halloween fireworks, the potential of restoring Halloween fireworks display in Enniskillen. It was highlighted, and it is in this year, that Enniskillen Bid, who received sponsorship from the council for its Halloween events, have successfully secured a private sector sponsorship for the fireworks display. And it was explained at the Event Strategy Working Group that is the perfect model of delivery, that that the council run an event, facilitate an event, try and build it up to a level where it becomes an event which is attractive to the private sector and is run by the private sector. So in that sense, the Halloween and the support that the Fermanagh Council have provided for the fireworks in Enniskillen is a success. in the private sector have now seen the importance of it in bringing people into the town, and taking the delivery in relation to that. So therefore, Chair, it's recommended that the Council notes the minutes of the Event Strategy Working Group meeting held on the 12th of September, that it approves a request to write to the Minister of Agriculture, Environment and Rural Affairs and the Minister for the Economy regarding the classic fishing competition, and notes the update on the promotion of events at Gorton Glen Forest Park. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Buchanan.
Thank you, Chair, and to John and the staff for the comprehensive report. I'm happy to propose. It's great to see some of the information in there, the 40 events on receipt of council sponsorship, and the 46,000 spectators. That's really encouraging that there's all these events happening, so I'm happy to propose that.
Councillor McArdle.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to second Councillor Buchanan's proposal. Just that I was chatting to a person who's a shop in the Sligo Road in Enniskillen, and he has a big involvement, and his name is David Borley, and he does fishing tacking and stuff, and he's a big involved in that. And he just told me about, and John highlighted there, the amount of revenue that's left behind in Enniskillen by these fishermen and the whole lot. And it's saddening that Dara have pulled out of. Actually, they run the boats on the loch and lift the fish, or lift the nets, weigh them and bring them back, or whatever, you know. And I think the council should write a strong letter, because it's hard enough to get people around, tourists around County Fermanagh, especially in Enniskillen or anywhere. And it'd be desperate to lose this. So I would like, you know, a good strong letter from the council say that, look, we're going to lose big time here, like, you know what I mean? Like, so just want to second all that, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor McArdle. Councillor McElduff.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just on item 2.5, promotion of events at Gorton Glen Forest Park, just to acknowledge that the council has done tremendous work to develop Gorton Glen Forest Park in recent years. You know, transformational, you know, so positive. Everybody's enjoying it, you know. So that's point one. But then when you give praise, you always ask for something, don't you? So I'm wondering, as well as promoting and marketing events, you know, would it be possible for the council to lead in the organisation of a family-friendly event at or around Christmas time? Because it lends itself so much to a Santa experience. I'm not talking about day in, day out, you know, for a month, like what there is in other places. You know, I wouldn't want to displace necessarily local businesses who do this type of thing, you know, but Christmas market on a Saturday, or a Santa type event. I remember some years ago, Irish medium schools from a wide area came to Gorton Glen Forest Park on a Saturday, and Santa in Irish is Daddy na Nullag, and it was a Daddy na Nullag event where the children were invited to go for a walk to help Santa pick the deer to transport the presents. And it was such a successful event that a one-off, even Saturday event like that, I think, well marketed, would be beneficial for everybody. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Director.
Chair, I can see the benefits of that. The one thing I will say is those events do take time to organise, and we are in October, and I would doubt if we would honestly have time to organise, because what you don't want to do is organise an event that is half organised and isn't a success, because then that ruins it for future years. So what I would say is if the organisation of that can be brought forward for 2025, then that would be a possibility.
Councillor Green.
Thanks. I just wanted to second Councillor McArdle's proposal to write a letter to the department.
That was already proposed and seconded by Councillor Buchanan and Councillor McArdle. It's in the recommendations. Obviously, cognizance of your suggestion, Councillor McArdle. Does that need a seconder? I don't think it would do. So could we have a seconder for that if there is one? Councillor Thompson, thank you. Go on. Okay, thank you, Councillor McElduff. So on the first proposal, which is the recommendations. Are we agreed? And on second proposal? Okay, both pass. So that moves us on to 4.2.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, no, an update in relation to Culky Lakelands UNESCO Global Geopark is to provide an update on the funding and number of funding applications, and secondly, to seek approval for Fermanagh Council to become an associate partner in another funding application. The two shared island applications, the Geopark in partnership with members of Killinea Community Schools submit an application to the Shared Island Community Climate Action Fund for the provision of e-biking charging stations, bike repair stations, water refill stations at 4 sites in the Geopark, and were successful in being awarded over €48,000. Those sites are at Dara Courthouse and in our own district at Loch McNeen, Amenity Site, Marble Arch Caves, and Bow. And the second element, Fáilte Ireland connected officers with Ballyhura Development Group in East Limerick and North Cork, and officers from the Geopark worked with that group on a shared island application to the Civic Society Fund in June. The project aims to support a cross-border knowledge exchange on tourism and community tourism networks, and develop a framework of best practice for community and business engagement, which, as was the Geopark is particularly strong at, and for collaboration and networking, and for local development. And in August, the Ballyhura Development Group, as lead partner, submitted an application for almost €32,000 to the Shared Island funds, and we will be notified of the outcome of that in due course. The Interreg Northern Periphery Fund is where the Fermanagh District Council have been asked to become an associate partner in an application with other European partners in Iceland, Finland, Sweden, and ourselves to establish a framework for regenerative tourism, building regenerative tourism capabilities and cooperating for development of local regenerative tourism. Members will be aware that our VDP is very much based on regenerative tourism. And I suppose the Geopark is the perfect location for that. The Geopark, if successful, would be awarded over €124,000 to undertake and implement and support the progression of the work plan over the course of 3 years. It is funded 65%, but could be matched through in-kind officer funding. Cavan County Council just are in similar to ourselves as an associate partner. So we are exactly in the same line with Cavan County Council. And Chair, the Peatlands Fund, which I think Anne will be bringing to a report, as also will be as part of the Geopark, has received substantial funding in relation to that application. So therefore, Chair, it's recommended that the Council notes the award of €48,129 from the Shared Island Fund for the provision of e-biking charging stations and bike repair stations and so on at 4 sites across the Geopark. Notes the submission of an application for almost €32,000 to the Shared Island Fund for a project to develop best practice for community engagement, and approves becoming an associate partner in the Interreg Northern Periphery and Arctic funding application. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Director. Do we have a proposer and seconder? Councillor McElduff.
Yeah, Chair, I'd be happy to propose. And as that has been delivered, that report, I was thinking at some point in the future, no immediate urgency, it'd be good to see a document which outlines our successful engagement to date with the Shared Island Fund. It'd be very good to see that written up, the variety of projects and the projects we're currently interested in pursuing within the context of the Shared Island Fund. I just would welcome that for the future, I would propose accordingly. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Green, I assume that's for both. Councillor Green? Yeah, thank you. There's no other indications, all agreed. Great. Okay, so we go on to 4.4, report of Director of Community and Wellbeing. John.
Chair, yeah, just one item on the report, to consider a request from the Northern Ireland Commissioner for Children and Young People to support plans to visit Enniskillen as part of a planned programme to celebrate World Children's Day on the 20th of November. It has partnered with TransLink to deliver a week of child rights awareness activities with engagement with young people and their parents and guardians and political representatives. And they plan to visit Enniskillen on the 19th of November, and have asked if the council would be willing to get involved with post-primary age pupils by making a space available in the Town Hall car park here or in Enniskillen for the Child's Right bus to park, and to facilitate workshop engagement opportunities within the Town Hall, and possibly a round table with some of yourselves from Ananoma councillors, so that democracy can be discussed with the young people. And the whole organisation of it will take place through the Commissioner for Children and Young People. So therefore it's recommended, Chair, that the council support the visit to Enniskillen on the 19th of November by making spaces available in the Town Hall car park and within the Town Hall, and to work to facilitate the event, including engagement with local councillors yourselves.
Thank you, Director. I believe it's Chris Quinn, isn't it? Still the Commissioner. Yeah. Had the pleasure of meeting him last year. He visited Enniskillen last, but do we have any proposer and seconder for the recommendations? Councillor Donnelly proposing, Councillor Rainey seconding. Thank you. So that brings us to item 5.1, consider report of grant. Sorry, before we go ahead, all agreed? Thank you. Consider report on grant aid panel.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Chair. So the purpose of this report is to request that members approve the recommendations of the Grant Aid e-panel held on the 27th of September in respect of the Grant Aid 24-25 rolling call in terms of the project development grants, and then notes the Grant Aid allocations up to a maximum of £500 in respect of the Grant Aid 24-25 as laid out in Appendix 2. Just to note that project development grants are open on a rolling basis, and a total of 7 applications were assessed for this meeting. And then in Appendix 2, you'll see the applications received for grant aid up to £500. And for noting, senior officers have been provided with the authority to award funding of up to £500 up through the scheme of delegation. The assessment process is outlined in 2.3.1. And the recommendations said were presented and agreed by the Grant Aid panel on the 27th of September, and there was a report of the meeting attached as well. So the recommendation is that the committee approves the recommendations of the Grant Aid e-panel meeting held on the 27th of September in terms of project development grants, and notes the awards approved by the relevant head of service for awards up to £500.
Thank you, Councillor Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to propose the recommendations as outlined.
Thank you. And any seconder? Councillor Green. Thank you, Councillor. All agreed? Okay, so that brings us on to reports for information. So we're going, 5.2, sorry. Consider report of Agriculture Liaison Group. So I'll go back to Director Quinn.
Thank you. Thank you. So the purpose of this report is to update members on the meeting of the Council's Agriculture Liaison Group held on the 26th of September, and to seek Council approval to progress with the recommendations of the group. On that particular day, the group received a presentation from the Head of Sustainability from Dale Farm, and I suppose the presentation highlighted that Dale Farm considered the 3 pillars of sustainability, and that their current priority pillar is environmental sustainability, particularly in terms of carbon reduction. The Dale Farm Sustainability Programme had a 97% uptake from farmers in the cooperative, and the company is supporting farmers to achieve carbon reduction. So the aim of the programme is really to identify carbon hotspots in the production chain, and nutrient management plans are being prepared for each farm, including incentives to focus on hotspots. And the primary focus of the Dale Farm programme is to support farmers to make their businesses more sustainable. So the head of sustainability stated that the farmers supplying Dale Farm are expected to demonstrate improvements in sustainability, and Dale Farm is working with farmers with this work. The key priorities then affecting the agricultural sector: correspondence is issued to the Dear Minister to outline the current planning legislation and policy for energy efficient, to outline in more detail the current planning legislation and policy for energy efficient farm buildings, and the council's or the department's disregard for the previous Going for Growth programmes, and to seek clarification on the 22-23 baseline year for net zero calculations. And then the correspondence is also issued to NIEA on the progress of the basalt spreading initiative and establish if it remains council department policy. And finally, that arrangements are put in place for a visit to Caffrey, the Enniskillen campus. So it's recommended that the correspondence is issued to the Dear Minister to outline the current planning legislation and policy for energy efficient buildings, the department's disregard for the previous Going for Growth programmes, and to seek clarification on the baseline year for net zero calculations. The correspondence is issued to NIEA to ask for an update on the progress of basalt spreading initiatives and to establish if it remains department policy, and that arrangements are put in place for the visit to Enniskillen campus.
Councillor Green.
Thank you, Chair. I suppose I jumped the gun. I'm happy to second them proposals. If Alan is the chair, I thought maybe he was coming in before me. So, but if he proposes them, I'll second.
Councillor Rennie.
It's a big programme of work to look forward to. And I'm sure that our liaison group is well up to it to carry that out.
Thank you, Councillors Rennie and Green. Are we all agreed? Thank you. So that brings us to reports. That will bring us to reports for information. I'm going to take these as read, folks. So we're going to go 6.1 to note the report on policing and community safety partnership annual report. Councillor Thompson, I assume that's a proposal to note. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Donnelly. Then on to 6.2 to note report on traveller accommodation and council involvement in traveller support organisations. We have, I see no indications to speak. Do we have a proposer and seconder to note? Councillor Rennie propose. And Councillor McArdle to second. Thank you. 6.3 to note a report on environmental health delegated decision record quarters 1 and 2 24-25. Councillor Buchanan propose, Councillor Donnelly second. Okay, and that's all in 6. So we then go to 7, Regeneration and Planning Directorate reports. 7.1 to note progress report from Mananoma District Council Corporate Plan 2020 to 24. Again, no indications, so I'll go for if there's a proposer and seconder to note. Councillor Donnelly to propose. Councillor Buchanan to second. Thank you, folks. 7.2 to note update report on Enniskillen bid. No indications. Do we have a proposer to note? Councillor Buchanan. And do we have a seconder for noting? Councillor Thompson. Thank you. We now go to 7.3 to note report on business case, paper L. I see no indications, but at this point, I would like to just say a couple of words on this topic. Obviously, this was in particular, probably no surprise that I want to say something on this. This was referred back to committee following a decision to note the report previously, and in the report it states obviously that the lights for the cottage lawn did not proceed under that proposal. I'll not waste everyone's time. I have outlined enough times why I think the lights should go ahead and what policies I think they meet, and why it should meet the business case. And I could speak all night about it if I wanted to, and I'll not subject you all to that. But at this stage, I will say, just to acknowledge Councillor Feely and Councillor Bruff for bringing this, for proposing that this comes back. And at this stage, I'll propose actually that we do not go with the recommendations. I believe it is recommendation, the second recommendation in the report to memory is the recommendation regarding Belcoo. I'm just double checking my documents. Oh, it's just a single recommendation. So I would be proposing that we note all except the 2-1 business case assessment and cottage lawn for lighting Belcoo. And I'd actually propose that we approve that business case for further development. Councillor McArdle.
Sure. Let's go back to the Cottage Meadow. I know the business case was put forward to council. Obviously, when you look at it, it's not feasible. But like yourself, Councillor Gallen, I think the Cottage Meadow lights can go ahead and should go ahead. But as a councillor, we must continue to work on a new business case that obviously meets health and safety requirements. And we negotiate with the Belcoo people and with the business people in the area that we can push this forward and make it reality. Because it's a fantastic meadow, it's a beautiful scenery. And I'm sure there's ways that we can get around it, you know. But I propose we push on and see can we can get a solution to this. And I fully back Councillor Gallen there and that there. So thank you, Chair.
So can I take that as a seconding that we continue with the project and we approve it? I'm going to go to Councillor McElduff.
Right, Chair, my item is on the OLC running track, so I'll wait if that's what you would prefer.
I'll just see if is Councillor Green wishing to come in on the Belcoo issue, is it? Yes, he is. I'll go to Councillor Green, then I'll come back to you, Councillor McElduff.
Yeah, it's just that Councillor Anthony Feely had looked for speaking rights, and I think he had to have them in by 12, and his email came in at 1 minute past 12. No, I jest. I think it was a wee bit more late than that, but anyway, he ended up not being able to. So on behalf of Anthony, I'm going to read out what he was going to say. So for years, the community in and around Belcoo have been lobbying the council for and its predecessor for lights for the Cottage Lawn. The Cottage Lawn is a focal area for people of Belcoo, and as the owners of the Cottage Lawn, the council has a responsibility to listen to the needs of the community. I am sure that providing lights would also mean many of the council's policies and commitments in regard to health and well-being, and then also ensuring our council area is a place where people want to live and visit. Although the business case presented to this committee leaves a lot to be desired in regards to pricing and health and safety, I believe the council should work with local councillors and the local community of Belcoo to work towards a new and amended business case, and that will secure lighting on the Cottage Lawn. And that ends Anthony's statement, and I agree entirely with it.
Thank you, Councillor Green. Councillor Withers, is this on the Belcoo issue? Okay, so just Chief Executive.
It's just so we're clear that that's all in relation to a couple of Councillor McArdle's comments. My understanding, Chair, is what you've proposed is that we approve the business case as presented. Some of the comments which have been suggested are that we work with the community to come up with a solution that will hopefully meet the health and safety and associated requirements, because it's just to confirm the business case as presented does not comply with health and safety requirements or wider council policies. So it's just to be clear about what the actual proposal is, that's all.
So the proposal is that we go ahead with the project. as outlined and as we have to legally within planning and of course take into account legislation around bats. I did have a question with Director News prior to this, and I mentioned it around the measurement of lux, due to the belief that obviously lux is a measurement which takes into account distance as well as light intensity, and the distance at which the lux needs to be measured. But I assume he'll get back to me on that. And if possible, within the legislation, we make them as bright as we can while still getting it through under legislation.
Sorry, Chair, no, it's not to deliberate. It's just to be clear, this has been dealt with in the business case as presented, so we cannot do what you're suggesting. So the lux levels that are required to meet the environmental sustainability requirements of the site are damaging to habitats. To make them not damaging to habitats, present the health and safety risk. So that's the assessment that we've brought forward. In the context of the other commentary about revisiting this, working with the community to see if there are other solutions, that's certainly something that we can do, but that has not been the focus of the work to date. So that's why it's important just that we are clear on what the proposed course of action. I think your proposal is very clear, certainly, Chair, but it's just to confirm that that will present a health and safety risk and will not comply with environmental regulations.
On this issue, Councillor Green?
I suppose it's just to come back on I believe what Councillor Feely said in his last paragraph. I believe that the council should work with the local councillors and the local community of Belcoo in working towards a new and amended business case that will ensure that will secure lighting on the Cottage Lawn. So I believe that's slightly different than what the chair's suggesting, but it might get us over this obstacle of that we can't agree to this as stands, as it's against health and safety.
And Councillor Buchanan, is it on this issue, is it?
So I was of a similar vein. I suppose the wording of the report tonight, I think that's not what you're proposing, is completely different, Chair, to that, you know. And I think instead of proposing that the project would go ahead as outlined by Councillor Green and Alison, and in that proposal or them words from Anthony, if there was a group set up maybe with the community and the council to relook at it again. But I think what you were proposing is that we'd go ahead with the project, and it's maybe hard to say that at this stage just because this has been going on since I was in the chair. It's been thrashed out a lot now. And I think what's before us tonight, I'd be happy to propose it as it is, the report, but with a separate proposal then that this is relooked at in whatever way we can, Alison, with the community and whoever wants to be involved in it.
And Councillor McArdle, I assume it's on this issue as well.
It is indeed, Chair. I just wanted to come back to what Councillor Green was saying and Councillor Feely. Yeah, I think we should look at a new business case and work with the community in Belcoo and surrounding areas. Like, these lights can be done, like, but we obviously the business plan that's ahead of us now at the minute it's not feasible. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so if we work up at a new business and set up a group, as Councillor Buchanan said, and work with the people, and or as the council work with them and see can we come up with something different. You know, I'll second Councillor Feely's. You know, okay.
Okay, I'll just look to the Chief Executive. Can that be done? Can we revisit it? Or Council, our Director?
May I just say that I suppose just to reiterate again that I suppose we've looked at this several times, and one looks as and parts of the park you can't have any lighting for environment because of the bats, and in other parts, the other parts of it, the maximum lighting you can have is one lux. That's just the way it is, and that doesn't meet. That will not address. If we put in one lux lights, then I think local people would actually start and complain because it's not enough. It's like moonlight, so they would be, you know, there's trips and hazards that might occur if people start walking on that. There would be issues if we decide to do that. And then I suppose alongside that are the plans of Belcoo GAA that I think are well advanced to develop a walk around the GAA pitch, and they are planning to apply for funding from the council to progress those plans. So that'll be a community walk. But just in terms, say, of to go back to Cottage Lawn, 1 lux lights is the maximum that we can put on the cottage lawn, and that will mean that there will be health and safety issues if people choose to walk there in the evening when it's dark.
Okay. At this stage, Councillor McArdle, go ahead.
Yeah, well, just come back to what was said there. I know this has gone on a long time, long before I got on the council, but I just don't think we can make a decision here tonight and say, well, let's okay, Balcoogie are doing it in fair play to them, whatever. But I think we need to sit down and take a look and visit maybe other areas that have maybe had problems with bats and stuff. You know, I don't think another month's going to make a difference here or whatever. So I think I'm proposing to still go with a new business plan and see where we can go as a working group, if we set up a working group. You know, there's a lot of people maybe in Balcoo Village who don't want to go out to the Geopark. I'm not saying they won't, but maybe they'd rather walk around the cottage meadow. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's a wee bit pushy now to say that, look, we visited many things before in the council and we went back to them. So, you know, give us another wee bit of time and see what we can come up with. That's, you know what I mean? Like, and if we can, regardless if somebody had a problem in England or maybe in Belfast, we see what kind of lighting have they've done and what solutions they've come up with, you know. So I just, that's my proposal. I'm seconding Councillor Feely's proposal.
Okay, so at this point on this matter, I believe there is obviously a proposal from myself and a proposal from Councillor Buchanan. Councillor Buchanan's proposal was to propose as stated in the recommendations, but with the addendum that a group of some description is set up to revisit this. And Councillor McArdle had come in just after, and they've seconded that particular proposal. Obviously, Councillor Feely, not in the chamber, can't make a proposal. Sorry, Councillor Green.
I believe I made the proposal.
Sorry,
so mine was made before Councillor Buchanan. So I think he was agreeing with the proposal that I made, if I'm not mistaken. So whatever other was.
No, that's okay. And seconded by Councillor McArdle. Okay, and obviously, in the interest of trying to advance this issue, there's no point going to another vote on that proposal that I've made. So, and it hasn't been seconded as of yet, but I'll withdraw it at this stage. So, just as a quick indication, there's no more speakers on the issue in terms of Balcoo. Councillor Donnelly.
Just a quick point, really, Chair. I think this is something that needs proper community engagement. I'm looking at this as an outsider. I'm not from the area. I think there's maybe a lack of understanding, maybe locally, as to what's possible, what can be done. I think, to me, engaging with the local community to see what do they want, and then explaining why perhaps the previous proposal didn't meet the business case and so on. I think a good starting point is being clear about what everybody's looking for and seeing what's achievable, as opposed to, you know, preparing a business case that's not going to meet policy, that's going to be too expensive. Being honest with people about what is possible. I think that is important in this case. So I'm not making a proposal in relation to it. I think perhaps maybe something like that could be incorporated into some of the proposals that have already been made. But I think that's, as an outsider, a sensible option to engage. I think that needs to happen.
Thank you, Councillor Donnelly. There has been consultation on this already, and I'm sure that can be brought up, and I'm sure further consultation can be arranged. So there's no other speakers regarding Balcoo at this stage. So I did say I'd go back to Councillor McElduff.
My item is the 2.3, so I'll address that now. Very important to improve the situation at Oma Leisure Complex running track. Why a lot of people use that track, and not least Oma Harriers, and they have hundreds of members and schools sometimes and individuals and park run users. So it's well used. It's very important. Just want to ask the question: has the flooding issues been relieved, or are they being relieved, remedied as part of this scheme? You know, it's where that big water pool gathers at the assembly point and the starting point for the park run. And so has that been remedied, or is that in the course of being remedied as part of this scheme? And just a restatement of the nature and range of works and why perhaps the costs may have risen. You know, I'd be supportive of this, by the way, but just to get that information. Thank you.
Chair, the main purpose of this work is to relieve the flooding issues on the track itself. That's the main purpose. It has been a protracted period in trying to get a resolution to what it is. There are quite substantial drainage issues in relation to the track, and the reasons for the flooding is because of those drainage issues and where that water is going to. So in effect, what is happening is a total drainage around the inside of the track and the outside of the track, and making sure that there is a mechanism by which that water can get away. And it is a lot more substantial works than what we had first envisaged, I have to say, in the first estimate of the work, and that has led to the increase in the costs. But we have now gone to the market, and we know what the price is, and so therefore that is the final tender price.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Withers, a keen runner yourself, Councillor.
Chair Margaret Carley, thank you, Chair, and thank you for those kind remarks. Exactly. Just to reiterate what Barry said, obviously it's a facility that's well used by local groups, including the Harriers and the Triathlon Club as well. And myself and other councils had meetings on it with the council officials to try and get this remedied. I know one issue at present, obviously there seems to be a bit of delay in when this was taking place. I think initially hopes were maybe over the summer, but obviously as John's pointed out, there's been a bit of more investigations to get the work done, so that's fair enough. The only other issue, I know the park run, now obviously that's been changed the route and that, so I was just wondering if there was any interaction with the organisers of the park run, that see if any assistance could be given there, or how they've changed their route and that. Obviously that delay now for the next couple of months will mean they'll not be able to do their usual route. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, Chair, I'm not aware of the new route, but extensive consultation has taken place with the organisers of the park run in order to make sure that it happens in Omagh.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I think Director Boyle hit up the head there. It's been protracted for a long period of time. I think I was initially lobbied probably about 2.5 years ago. And we had members of the Harriers and other ones in having a meeting with yourself, Director Boyle, and others. And I was joined on the occasion by Councillor Withers. And I know we lobbied hard that time. And but it's important that we get this right. And that if the drainage isn't sorted, it'll never be sorted. So it's important to get that sorted ASAP, and that we have a track that is for good use, really. So I'm happy to support what's been proposed here. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, just to inform members, work is about to commence. It will take a period of 12 weeks. Much of that period isn't actually the works itself, but the resettling of the track. Once it's relayed, I think there's a period of at least 6 weeks of resettling of the track itself. So in 12 weeks' time, it should be completed, and certainly there should be no flooding issues in after that.
And Councillor Crawford on WebEx.
Sorry, Chair. Hand up accidentally.
No problem, Councillor. Thorough discussion there. I'm going to take an assumption in Councillor Green's proposal. He was proposing the recommendation to note in the report and to go to create that additional group. I'm assuming yes, Councillor Green. Okay. And if Councillor Green's happy to include that note in the update on Omagh Limerick Leisure Complex, and Councillor McArdle as well, happy? Thank you, folks. Now 7.4 to note report on tourism initiatives, and I see no indication, so proposer and seconder. Councillor McArdle and Councillor Thompson. We then go to 7.5, which is note report of the Director of Regeneration and Planning. Again, no indications. So if we can have a proposer and seconder. Councillor Donnelly, Councillor Buchanan. And we then go to correspondence. So 8.1, to note correspondence dated 19th of September from Cavan County Council. No indications on that one, so proposer and seconder to note. Proposed by Councillor Buchanan. Do we have a seconder, folks, to note that piece of correspondence? Councillor Devine Gallagher, thank you. Next is noting correspondence from the Department for the Economy regarding the launch of the Sub-Regional Economic Plan. Again, I see no indication, so do we have proposers and seconders to note? Oh, Councillor McElduff.
Happy to propose, Chair.
Thank you.
The Economic Development and Inward Investment Group met earlier today, and we discussed it, at considerable length. And I think we expect more update and feedback on this in the month of November variously, So that's it, but I'm happy to propose. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor McElduff. Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, Chair, I'm happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Don't see any dissent on that. So we then go on to any other correspondence, and there's a few items in here, folks. The first is correspondence from the Impartial Reporter regarding the launch of new farming publication. Do we have a proposer and seconder? No, we have Councillor Buchanan proposing the noting of this. There's a few people thinking about it there, the seconding though. Councillor Thompson, thank you. Yeah, so just to note in this, they'll be officially announcing all the details at a launch event, and they invite all councillors to it. It's at Annaskill and Ulster Mart on Thursday, October 17th, 2024 at 10 a.m. So if you are able to go, you are certainly invited. Next is no correspondence dated 3rd of October from Western Health and Social Care Trust regarding transition of Pathfinder to an ICS model. Again, I see no indications to speak on it. So any proposers or seconders to note that piece of correspondence? Councillor Green, thank you. And Councillor Porter Green Kelly. And finally, to note correspondence from the Department of Finance regarding the executive reaffirming funding commitments to the growth deal and complementary fund. I see Councillor McElduff. I will say Councillor Thompson literally just beat you to the buzzer there. So I go to Councillor Thompson because he was just fractionally ahead of you.
Thank you, Chair. I feel it may nearly need to declare an interest in the Mid Southwest, but however, I'm prepared to note this correspondence and welcome it. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson and Councillor McElduff.
Just to ask if the Chief Executive has anything to say by way of update in relation to this matter.
Go ahead, Chief Executive.
Thank you, Chair. Well, firstly, Chair, I think as Councillor Thompson has indicated, I think this is very welcome correspondence from the Northern Ireland Executive, the Minister for Finance, in relation to the Executive's commitment. So that will be, as we understand it, the 126 million, which will relate primarily to tourism and regeneration projects across the Mid-South-West region. In terms of a general update, Chair, the deal remains paused. We are still awaiting formal confirmation from the Treasury regarding that fact, but we have had direct engagement with the Northern Ireland office in relation to submitting essentially a template regarding the need and justification for the deal to be unpaused and to continue. Later this week, representatives of the chair of each of the three councils in Mid-South-West, as well as in Causeway Coast and Glens, and the chair and vice chair of our governance steering group are due to meet with the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland, Hilary Benn, and that is really to impress upon him the importance of the deal being unpaused and really to make all representations to Treasury in this regard. So there is certainly a very concerted effort politically across our MPs, our MLAs, through the ministers and the executive, as well as through councillors in each of our three councils and Causeway, Coast and Glens, and hopefully, Chair, that will bear fruit.
Thank you.
And I assume you're happy to second the noting, Councillor McAuliffe?
Yep, happy to do so.
Thank you. And there's no disagreement with that. And that is the final item of other correspondence. And that brings us to AOB. And I've been made aware of one. Now, if you did send one to Councillor Donnelly, I'll let you in, but I'll go to Councillor McElduff first.
Go to my email just to keep me right. Okay. My primary item is that we should include St. Lucia as one of the sites in the town that we need to look at in the context of the sites working group that we're going to re-establish. Follows on from our meeting with the minister last week, in Belfast. Good number of us in the chamber were present, including our interim director, Anne, and we had an engagement. We need to reflect on that, and essentially the challenge that the minister put back to us to lead on ideas and to convene our ideas, collate our ideas. So there'd be some urgency within the sites working group to have a look at St. Lucia site in that context. So I'm making the proposal that the St. Lucia site is looked at expeditiously and prioritised for attention within that working group and seek an imminent meeting of the working group. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McElduff. I'll just go to Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I would support Councillor McElduff on his proposal there, and happy seconded. I suppose I was part of the delegation that met Minister O'Dowd last week as well, and I suppose what he told us wasn't what we wanted to hear, but we'll try and get on with it with regard to this council, and as Councillor McElduff has alluded to, the working group, and prioritise St. Lucia Barracks within. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. I'll just bring Chief Executive in at this stage.
Thank you, Chair, it was really just maybe a suggestion if Councillor McElduff and Councillor Thompson were content, and we will convene the working group. I think it would be important to test out the willingness of the Department for Communities to engage in this process, because they do have the formal powers for regeneration. While we might hope and wish that they will transfer to local government soon, currently it remains with them, and I think it would be at least important to clarify they were previously involved in the two unpublished master plans specifically for that reason. Not suggesting that we would be anything other than the lead, but it would be useful maybe to know their desire to re-engage in the process.
Yeah, happy, Councillor McElduff?
Yep, happy with that. And if it takes a wee bit of time to, scope out where DFC is on this, then so be it. So be it.
And Councillor Thompson?
Yeah, happy with that, Chair. It's been interesting enough discussion with DFC as well to get them involved and see what way we move forward in a positive way. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor McElduff, you're coming in again on this?
In me email till
second item. So before we go on to your second item, Councillor McElduff, we all agreed on the first? Yeah, thank you. Go on ahead, Councillor.
Thanks very much, and I'll be brief on this. I also emailed Councillor Donnelly. I didn't know that you were going to be the pro tem chair. Had I had that foresight, but I emailed Councillor Donnelly and I said that my second issue is the handing out of excess or disproportionate number of parking fines to people doing business in Oma Town. I've raised this previously. I'm particularly referring to some hotspot parts of the town, like John Street, like Market Street. And it's partly because the rules, I believe, are not always clear or understood. And I think it's having a seriously detrimental impact on businesses in the town. So really what I'm proposing is, during the summer I had a meeting with our director, John Hughes, who was very helpful in helping us to understand the landscape, who's in charge of what, what unit exists within DFA, that type of thing. So I would like it's scoped out that there should be a meeting of relevant stakeholders, business representatives, councillors, perhaps from the OMA DEA, DFA and council officials to address this issue. And it's a very vexed issue. It's coming at us councillors hot and heavy on a regular basis, you know. Anecdotal reports week in, week out of terrible, terrible instances of people accessing their own business for a minute and in that minute getting fined. You know, that type of thing is common, of serious concern to me. So that's it, Chair. That's my proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I just noticed, Councillor Green, you had your light on. You're happy enough. I was just making sure that was intentional. Councillor Withers?
Thank you, Chair. Just a second, Councillor McAdoo's proposal. I too am aware of that issue that's been raised with us by local business and traders. So there's a real issue there. So just a second that, and look forward to trying to resolve the matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And Councillor Green?
Well, if you want to finish that other, no, it was just to say that I had put in 5 AOBs to Councillor Donnelly. So if you want to. Only joke.
You could believe it though, Seamus, you could. Don't think we've got our table back yet either, but all in agreement with the proposals from Councillor McAdoo and Councillor Withers? Thank you, thank you. And assuming by lack of indications that there's no other items other than Councillor Green's 5. No, okay. So that brings us on to going into committee and confidential matters. Councillor Thompson is proposing to go in, and Councillor Buchanan And if we can get the recording back on, please. Thank you. I'll just pass over to the Chief Executive to detail matters discussed in committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. While in committee, the Council considered the update report on the Mid-South West Growth Deal and agreed with the various recommendations detailed in the report.
Thank you. Don't need a proposer and seconder. Yes, please. Could I get a proposer and seconder? God, too many hands at once. We'll go Councillor Devine Gallagher and Councillor Donnelly give a nice wave at the back. So we'll go for that. Okay. At that stage, folks, there's no further business and I'll bring the meeting to a close. Thank you for your assistance tonight.